losing someone so early, I think it's life-changing. Just fully immerse myself, time where I can really express sadness and happiness as well, all the emotions. AI can imitate, but that's never gonna be the same. That's the core of being humans, being together, face to face. That's never gonna be taken away from us.
Jacek,
Yep.
just tell us a bit about yourself, your background, how you came into the world of art, like what inspired you to become an artist. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
My name is Jacek Pakula. I was born in Poland, in a place called Kozienice. It's like about 100 km from capital, Warszawa, Warsaw. About, I think, inspiration and early kind of stuff I remember. My family owned a bookshop, and the bookshop was not in my place when I was born, but where we just drink the coffee from these cups in Bolesławiec. And I remember just always surrounded by books. So always lots of, novels, writers, psychology, philosophy, lots of albums with the paintings, old masters. I remember early stuff. I really admired Da Vinci for all his multidisciplinary approach to everything. From the painting, drawing, all the machinery, defensive system, bridges. So just such an amazing mind. The sculpture, Michelangelo. I think there's so much knowledge. And then when I was a teenager, I was just into more I was starting to write. And I was writing poems. So then I've published the book. There's a poetry there. And I wasn't bestseller. I still have a few left. My garage, but had beautiful launch back in Poland. And and then I have also, I think, 2 unfinished novels. So I was my beginning was more like, I was sketching, but I was more like a writer. And so I really like, Friedrich Nietzsche and Hermann Hesse. That's just like German writers, philosophers, lots of Polish guys like Wittkacy, but he's not very well known here. There was so many.
In a lot of that early inspiration, or in your early experience into that, reading, writing, and creativity, were there any particular stories or themes that really captured your interest?
So basically what I found when I was kind of teenager, because my family was hiding from me. So my father, and I didn't know, because I was in lots of pain, lots of anguish. So I was really drawn to this kind of, I think they were romantics, 19th century, all this they're just so in love and in so much pain, and because they love someone. And so I was just trying to once I find out what's happening with my father and everything, because I thought that's what I was being told, that he died of heart attack. So all these years, I just felt something's not right. So once I was I think 15, I found out what's happened. That was for me aha. So then I would start exploring my own, I guess, lots of anger and loss. And so I was 6 when Dad died. And over years, I've done lots of work on this trauma. And now I am in therapy with person from Poland. It's based on Carl Gustav Jung, and just lots of to try to heal that stuff. And at 21, I broke up with my kind of my sweetheart from primary school, and that unleashed there was so much pain. I love her so much. I didn't know why I broke up with her and everything. I was 20. And then that unleashed, that started, I think. That was 2020 when I started really painting.
Yeah. Did you study painting formally, or is it something that was sort of self-taught along the way?
Yeah, no, never, no, just self-taught. And just oil pastels at the beginning. That's these paintings started very small, just on the knee, a little book, and I was just painting constantly. To just was so much pain. I was so that helped me, and that become then bigger paintings, bigger, and now just if I can have bigger studio and paint big, just fully immerse myself in the process. And I think for me, it is some kind of part of now I know what I know. It's a healing process for me, time where I can really express all this sadness and happiness as well, all the emotions. Yeah, and yeah, as I'm growing older, I think I understand more, and yeah, but the sadness is still there. I think there's something now. When my kids were born in 2014, twins, Zara and Jack. Yeah, that's kind of being the father, and yeah, it's just also lots of flashbacks and missing my father again, because losing someone so early, I think it's such a life changing. There's a shock when I was a teenager, of course, and especially going through your lots of your personal stuff, being in school and pressure of life and what you're gonna do in your life, and then as you grow older, have your kids, and just you miss that person. That's I wish show him what we're doing. And
yeah, your works, they're very energetic, and you describe your creation process as quite physical. And it's really interesting now that you've I mean, thank you so much for sharing about some of your sort of childhood incidents, right? The triggering moments. But it's interesting to see, like, I now understand how with your artwork, a lot of it is that emotional outpouring.
Oh, yes.
And it becomes physical, right? It's the physical expression.
Emotional, I would say. And yeah, just not thinking really. Not much thinking. Yeah, not much. Yeah. I mean, as I said, well, I do sometimes, if it's a subject or theme for exhibition, I do something more like intellectual, but my main drive is that emotion in the moment to just express. And then
it strikes me, especially because some of your works, you've talked about wanting to invite people in, right? And having people go through the process. And it's interesting that there's art in the sense of people who sort of collect it. There's a commoditization of it, which is understandable, right? We understand that when we, the market of art and what it means to collect. But also equally, there's that deeper, call it the joy, the experience of creativity. And I feel like this is something that is really worth talking about these days, because we're in such a fast-paced world. There's a lot of that, what's in it for me, my time is precious, and all those types of things. And it gets further and further away in some cases from
less community. Yeah, less. Everyone's just very self-centered. I found here. And just everyone very, I think, getting tired a little bit, and money pressures, and there's just this. Yeah, exactly. I think that's core of our humanity. Just like you as a human gonna be able to just do that. And I think AI can imitate that, but that's never gonna be the same. I don't think so. I don't worry about AI that much. I think people get scared too much, and
Well, let me sort of yes and reframe that a little bit. I think AI is always going to do things, right? And what it may disrupt is if we're only thinking about it in terms of things that we can sell, things that we can buy. And again, don't get me wrong, I have a great deal of sympathy and empathy for people who are in the creative space, like writing, for example. We can just get AI to pump out heaps of random stuff.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of sympathy from that for that part of it, and I don't want to dismiss that. But I think what I guess we're talking about is that, well, if that is the world, then what still makes us human? And that for me is really interesting, because we still need ways to process, say, creativity. That's still something that we can do. Even if AI is taking everything away, we can still just create stuff. And even to your point about how you use your artwork as a form of emotional expression, no amount of input into AI, a chat room, is going to replace that particular experience. Right. And so maybe it's a case of how we where we start to choose to focus our attention going to the future. If we're worried about our humanity, then let's create let's see what we can create, because that experience, even if it's a shallow experience for someone who has no background in art, it doesn't matter. It's the process of it.
Exactly.
That's really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing here. Like when you offered like, let's do this, see each other face to face in my, humble studio garage in Ardeer. Yeah, I was like, yeah, and I think that's the core of being humans, being together, face to face. Yeah, no, just perfect. That's never gonna be taken away from us, I think. One of the works I usually do, it's called fragmentation. So I sometimes feel like there's life is so fragmented. There's so many aspects of our life, places we see, people we met. There's just lots of going on. So that's where all the fragments going. Once I start one fragment, they continue to build up like a blocks, pretty much. This one is just, I don't know, this kind of victory, freedom, some kind of like happiness moment when you're going, in the morning sun is like, yeah, like, very. So I think that's when hyper focus for me is like, I don't drink it, just keep going. But usually, I really feel like my hands hurt. So like 4 or 5 hours, it's like where I'm really like, I'm kind of getting a little bit, okay, that's where I have to stop. I feel like my body's getting a bit achy, but that's, yeah, after like, so usually if I start like at 9, 8, I'm in the studio and just like till 1, 2, then maybe have some lunch. Oh gosh, this is like $1 million question. I think there's this moment when you paint and you almost, I would say, painting like talks to you and allow you to enter. You can continue to do it, and there's a moment when you pretty much just that's it, and you can't really describe it. You can't put a finger on it. What is it? But there's this moment when you like with this one, I did like, and then there's a moment that's like, nah, that's it. And there's something like almost like do you remember like the magnets, the two magnets when they're opposite and they just like, when they're together, like, and then when they're in the wrong opposite section, we can't put them together. So that's what like painting is almost. Once we're in it, we just go in and there's a pull, and after it's done, it's like push. And I think that's how I would describe it. Think about them like mental landscapes. I don't want like in one style. So it's a difficult question for me, and I'm working on it. I think I would say there's lots of expression in the paintings. I use whole body, so some kind of action painting, big paintings, so whole body is involved in the process. Lots of stamina, lots of effort put in it. There's like nothing else exists in the moment when I paint, and I really feel like I'm connecting to higher powers, source, whatever, but I just feel like there's some kind of connection, and I go when I paint, I express life, and when I paint, that's what it is. I think it's life. Last few years, I think my art practice going somewhere where I think I'm close to this. I would call it like a pure art. Don't need to understand it. Don't need to think about it. Just feel it. So I think I'm coming from the place of feeling, not thinking. In the face, there's just like pages of the book, and then on the side you can see there's a called surrender. Encourage people to go through the pages, to actually flick through it. Everyone need to do more surrender. Yeah, that's the kind of scene of Ned Kelly at Glenrowan final stand. So that's, I think, this last stand. I think when they keep get being shot at, the police is everywhere. They've been shot at a lot. They both with this armor. I think that's him. That'll be Ned Kelly. That'll be his brother. And then they just got just being shot at, and that's the kind of, just all this is like a lot. The blood is because they start gushing blood, and this is the bullets like this. So there's like just lots of blood, and there's all this kind of like mess what's going on. Just this kind of try to put like emotional like anguish of being shot at and kind of dying, and so that's lots of like, I imagine the armor was very heavy, so the blood started gushing through and just goes. He was walking with it, and just it's like final